Anunnaki, the cosmic exile of the gods, the manipulation of human DNA, and the return of the masters of Earth. What if everything we know about the origin of humanity is a lie? What if the story of human evolution, as taught to us in history and biology textbooks, is nothing more than a distorted truth, hidden by forces that do not want us to know who we really are? Deep within humanity's oldest texts and ancient myths, in the Bible, and in archaeological discoveries that defy logic, lies a forgotten story. Humanity did not arise by chance, but was created through genetic engineering by an advanced civilization known as the Anunnaki. From Sumer to Egypt, from the Bible to the Vedic texts, all the great civilizations of the past speak of beings who came from the sky, powerful gods who shaped the human race, leaving behind inexplicable monuments, advanced technological artifacts, and mysteries that modern science cannot solve. Is it possible that these gods are nothing more than extraterrestrial beings with advanced knowledge who intervened directly in human evolution? The story is tens of thousands of years old, and the truth is hidden in our DNA itself. Why does the human genome have components that seem to have been artificially added? Why is there a sudden leap in human evolution, the moment when Homo sapiens appeared as if by miracle, endowed with intelligence, consciousness, and advanced knowledge? The answer could be hidden in the genetic laboratories of the gods, where, according to Sumerian legends, the first humans were molded from clay and divine seed. Who are the Anunnaki, the creators of humanity? The Sumerian texts, the oldest known writings, describe a race of gods from heaven, known as the Anunnaki, who descended to Earth to extract precious resources, especially gold. However, in need of an efficient workforce, they decided to create a new species, capable of working under their orders, man. Through genetic engineering, using their DNA and that of terrestrial primates, they gave birth to the first humans, an experiment that would change the history of the Earth forever. The Bible and Genesis, the genetic manipulation of Adam and Eve. What if the biblical Genesis is nothing more than a simplified version of what the Sumerian texts describe in detail? When God created Adam from dust and breathed life into him, could it actually be a process of advanced genetic manipulation? Furthermore, the legend of Lilith, the first woman created before Eve, suggests a failed experiment that did not conform to the God's rules, which led to the creation of a new, more docile version, Eve. Nephilim and the Flood, experiments out of control. In the Bible, the Nephilim are described as giants, hybrids born from fallen angels who took earthly women as wives. This story, closely linked to the Anunnaki, points to a time when genetic manipulation went out of control. These powerful and dangerous beings were a threat to the genetic balance of the Earth, which led to the divine decision to wipe out civilization in a massive flood. However, certain genetic lines were saved, preparing the way for the new version of humanity, one that was easier to control. Physical evidence, megalithic structures, and technological artifacts. If the creator gods are not just legends, then where is the evidence of their presence? The pyramids of Egypt, Pumapunku, Göbekli Tepe, all these structures seem to have been built with advanced technology, impossible to replicate even today. Are these monuments not simple temples, but access points to interdimensional portals, sacred places where the gods connected with the earth? Moreover, artifacts such as the Antikythera mechanism or the Baghdad batteries suggest technological knowledge much more advanced than would have been possible in their respective eras. Elites and bloodlines, the chosen of the gods. What if the Anunnaki experiment never ended? What if today's world elites are direct descendants of these creators? Many royal dynasties, from the pharaohs of Egypt to the noble families of Europe, claim to have divine blood, a mysterious heritage that gives them the right to rule humanity. Could this divine blood be a special genetic code, kept secret for millennia? The return of the gods, are we ready? What if the Anunnaki never abandoned us? What if they will return, as many prophecies suggest? Declassified documents from world governments and the Pentagon's recent admissions of UFOs could be preparation for the moment when humanity will have to confront its creators. But the question remains, will they treat us like prodigal sons or rebellious slaves? This is just the beginning of an investigation that will reveal the hidden truth about the origin of humanity. A millennia-old story, written in our DNA, hidden in the ruins of lost cities and whispered in ancient texts. Are we truly free, or just the result of a genetic experiment? Will we discover the truth before the gods return? Anunnaki, the gods or aliens? Who are the Anunnaki? Deep in Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, one of the most advanced civilizations of antiquity arose, the Sumerians. These mysterious people, who left us the first writings, the first cities and the first codes of laws, had a knowledge that defied the logic of time. Where did this wisdom come from? Why do their texts speak of gods who descended from the heavens, who had unimaginable powers and who ruled over humanity? In the Sumerian tablets, these beings are called the Anunnaki, those who came from the sky. They are not just mythological characters, but real beings, described in amazing detail. They were impressively tall, lived for thousands of years, and had technology that allowed them to fly, manipulate matter, and create new life forms. Is this just mythology? Or is it a distorted memory of extraterrestrial beings who shaped humanity? Zecharia Sitchin and the theory of the planet Nibiru. In the 1970s, a researcher named Zecharia Sitchin came up with a hypothesis that would shake the world of archaeology and history. Studying the Sumerian tablets, he discovered a constant reference to a mysterious planet, Nibiru, considered the place of origin of the Anunnaki. According to his interpretation, this celestial body orbits the Sun in an extremely long cycle of approximately 3,600 years, and each time it returns close to Earth, the civilization living there would interact with humanity. Sitchin claims that the Anunnaki were not gods in the religious sense of the word, but advanced biological beings, a race of extraterrestrials who landed on Earth with a clear purpose: to exploit the planet's resources, especially gold. But why gold? Isn't it just a precious metal used in jewelry? According to alternative hypotheses, gold played an essential role in their technology, being used to stabilize Nibiru's atmosphere or even to power advanced technologies, such as power generators. Why did the Anunnaki come to Earth? Sumerian texts speak of a distant period in which the gods descended from the sky and began to build large settlements on Earth. It is said that their first steps were taken in Edin, a place that is strangely reminiscent of the biblical Eden. This area was located in Mesopotamia, a territory that we today call Iraq. But their goal was not only to colonize the earth, but to extract gold from the mines. The work was hard, and a revolt broke out among their ranks. The Anunnaki were tired of digging mines and working for their elites. Then, their leaders, Enki and Enlil, came up with a solution: the creation of a new species capable of working in their place. This decision would lead to one of the greatest genetic revolutions on the planet, the creation of humanity. Enki versus Enlil, a battle of the gods. But not all the Anunnaki agreed with this decision. Here begins a conflict that is found in many ancient religions and myths, the fight between two camps of gods. Enki, a master of science and genetics, advocated the creation of humans through genetic engineering. He was considered the benefactor of humanity, the one who gave us intelligence and free will. Enlil, on the other hand, was an authoritarian leader who saw humans as inferior creatures meant only to serve the gods. He did not want the human species to develop too much, for fear that it would become a threat. This conflict between Enki and Enlil could be reflected in many other religious myths. In the Bible, Enki could be identified with the serpent in the Garden of Eden, the one who taught man knowledge, and Enlil could be the jealous god who wants to keep man under control. Are these myths nothing more than a distorted interpretation of real events that took place in the distant past? The Anunnaki and the first human civilizations. After creating man, the Anunnaki began to interact with their new creation. According to Sumerian tablets, they gave people advanced knowledge, including architecture, mathematics, and astronomy. Why did the Sumerians have accurate star maps and knew the planets of the solar system at a time when there were no telescopes? Why did they build temples and ziggurats that imitated the shape of spaceships? The answer is simple: because their gods were not just spiritual beings, but real visitors from the stars. But this influence was not limited to Sumer. Egypt, the Mayan Empire, the Vedic culture of India, all these civilizations describe being similar to the Anunnaki, gods who came from the sky and shaped humanity. Hidden secrets and forbidden truths. If this story is true, why don't we find it in history books? Why does official history refuse to consider evidence suggesting extraterrestrial intervention in humanity's past? Many researchers believe that governments and world elites are keeping this information secret because once we know who we really are, we would begin to ask ourselves uncomfortable questions. Who really controls us? Is religion an artificial creation to hide the truth? If we are a genetic experiment, what is our purpose? These questions lead us to the next stage of the investigation. How were Adam and Eve created? Was humanity just a genetic experiment, a hybrid between the DNA of the Anunnaki and that of terrestrial primates? Genetic engineering of humans, the supreme experiment of the Anunnaki. The beginning of a revolutionary genetic experiment. At the dawn of humanity, something inexplicable happened. An event that defies all the laws of natural evolution, the sudden appearance of Homo sapiens. Humanity did not go through millions of years of slow adaptation, as one might expect. Suddenly, a primitive species of hominids transformed into a being capable of building cities, creating complex languages, and understanding the stars. But how was this giant leap in evolution possible? The answer lies in the ancient Sumerian texts, which give us a completely different version of the official history. Humanity did not evolve naturally, it was created through genetic engineering by the Anunnaki. The laboratory of the gods, the birth of man. When the Anunnaki arrived on Earth, their goal was clear: to exploit the planet's resources. But they soon faced a problem. The hard work of extracting gold was becoming increasingly tiring. The Anunnaki, advanced beings, were not made to work like slaves. The revolt of the divine workers led to a radical decision, the creation of a being capable of taking on this burden. Thus began the most controversial genetic experiment in the history of the planet. At the forefront of this project was Enki, the god of wisdom, known for his vast knowledge of genetic manipulation. Working alongside him was Ninmah, a goddess described as an expert in the crafts of creation, which today we might interpret as advanced genetic engineering. Ancient texts say that Enki and Ninmah took the essence of the gods and combined it with genetic material from Earth. In their sacred laboratories, using methods beyond our understanding, they created the first version of man. But the result was not perfect. Lilith, the first failed experiment? Jewish mythology speaks of Lilith, the first woman created before Eve. Unlike Eve, Lilith was an independent, rebellious being who refused to submit to Adam and the gods. What if Lilith was not just a legend, but one of the first genetic experiments of the Anunnaki? Ancient texts suggest that the first version of man did not conform to the expectations of the gods. The first humans were either too aggressive, too weak, or unable to understand the commands of the Anunnaki. Lilith could represent a version of man that was not accepted, an imperfect creation that had to be abandoned. In her place, Enki and Ninmah improved the formula and created a new version, Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, genetic perfection of the Anunnaki. The biblical Genesis tells us that Adam was created from dust and was given life by the breath of God. But what if dust is nothing more than a metaphor for primary genetic material, and the breath of life represents the activation of an advanced genetic code? The Sumerian texts describe exactly this process. Enki and his team used primitive genetic material, DNA taken from hominids, and combined it with their own DNA. Thus was born Homo sapiens, a hybrid between the Anunnaki gods and beings from Earth. Eve was not created from Adam's rib, as the Bible says, but from a process of cloning or genetic modification. She was a refined result of the experiment, an improved version of the first man. But what followed would forever change the relationship between the gods and their creation. The Garden of Eden, a genetic laboratory? Eden, the paradise where Adam and Eve were placed, is described in the Bible as a place of perfection, where man lived in harmony with the gods. But what if Eden was not a mystical paradise, but a center of advanced research, a biological laboratory where humans were supervised by their creators? Here, Adam and Eve lived in a state of innocence because they were forbidden access to the tree of knowledge. This detail is crucial. If the Anunnaki gods created us, why didn't they want humans to know too much? What did this tree of knowledge symbolize? Does the prohibition of eating the fruit of knowledge represent the prohibition of accessing their true genetic nature? In Sumerian mythology, the serpent, identified with Enki, is the one who gives humans this forbidden knowledge. This suggests that Enki wanted humans to be equal to the gods, while the other Anunnaki wanted to keep them under control. Exile from Eden, humanity becomes free. When Adam and Eve gained knowledge, something changed. They were no longer mere docile servants, but conscious beings, capable of thinking for themselves. This was the moment when Enlil, the authoritarian god, decided that humans should be exiled. The expulsion from Eden was not a spiritual punishment, but a security measure. Humanity was now on its own, free to forge its own destiny. But even though the Anunnaki drove them from the Garden of Eden, they did not abandon them completely. They continued to oversee human evolution, intervening when the experiment got out of hand. Genetic evidence supporting the theory of human DNA manipulation. Modern scientists have discovered several anomalies in human DNA that raise questions. The unexplained genetic leap, Homo sapiens suddenly appeared with a much more developed brain than its ancestors. Disconnected genes, researchers have discovered that certain human genes appear to have been artificially deactivated. DNA that does not come from Earth. Some geneticists suggest that certain segments of our genome do not seem to have a natural origin. All of this suggests a shocking thing. Humans are the result of an advanced genetic experiment, a hybrid between the DNA of an extraterrestrial race and that of terrestrial primates. But what happened after this experiment? Did humanity remain a mere tool for the gods? Or did it begin to become a threat? Hybrids and the experiments of the Anunnaki, the forbidden race. An experiment out of control. Humanity was created by the gods, but was it their last experiment? If the Anunnaki managed to create Homo sapiens through genetic engineering, then what else could they have done? In the Bible, in Sumerian mythology, and in other sacred texts, there are accounts of powerful beings, mysterious hybrids, gigantic creatures, and entities intermediate between gods and humans. Are these stories not just legends, but fragments of a hidden history, censored over time? We are in the period of the first civilizations. Humans have spread across the earth, and the Anunnaki still watch over them from the heavens. But some of the gods had their own plans. Thus began the greatest violation of divine rules, a genetic experiment that would change humanity forever. Nephilim, children of fallen angels, and the forbidden genetic experiment. In the book of Genesis, a disturbing passage refers to a mysterious race of giants. There were giants on earth in those days, and even after the sons of God came into the daughters of men, they bore children to them. These were the mighty men of old, men with names. This verse has long been interpreted as a symbol, but what if it is real evidence of forbidden genetic experiments? In Sumerian mythology, these sons of God are the equivalent of rebellious Anunnaki who defied the orders of their rulers and mated with the women of Earth. The result? A colossal, powerful hybrid race called the Nephilim. The Nephilim were not humans. They were not gods. They were something else entirely. These giants possessed supernatural strength, heightened intelligence, and, most importantly, a direct genetic connection to the Anunnaki, which made them unpredictable and dangerous. Some of them became great leaders and warriors, founding legendary empires. But not all the gods were pleased with this unauthorized experiment. Enlil's wrath and the decision to destroy the Nephilim. While Enki had been the one who had wanted to give people knowledge, Enlil, the supreme god of the heavens, believed that humanity should remain weak and obedient. When he discovered that some of the Anunnaki had mixed their blood with mortals, Enlil was filled with rage. This act disrupted the genetic balance and endangered the entire order of the divine world. The Nephilim were powerful, but uncontrollable. They wanted to shape their own destiny, defying both humans and gods. In many ancient mythologies, these beings are described as titans, giants, or demigods who rose up against their masters. Could the story of Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods, be another version of this myth? A hybrid between gods and humans, trying to bring freedom to humanity? But Enlil would not allow it. The decision had been made, the Nephilim race had to be destroyed. The Great Flood, a genetic cleansing? The Bible, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and myths around the world all speak of a devastating flood that wiped out almost all life on Earth. The biblical version says that God was disappointed by the sins of humans and decided to destroy them. But what if this flood was not just a divine act of spiritual purification, but a scientific measure to eliminate a mutant species that had gotten out of control? In the Epic of Gilgamesh, Enlil, furious with humans and the giant Nephilim, orders a massive flood to wipe out all traces of genetic experiments. Only a select few would be saved, those who still retained the pure genetic code of the first humans created by the Anunnaki. The legend of Noah and the Ark seems to be an adapted version of this event. Noah was not just a virtuous man, but a descendant of the original genetic line, preserved to recreate humanity according to the standards imposed by the gods. Was the flood a natural event? Or was it caused by advanced technology, a device that could manipulate the weather or even the planet's energy grid? Regardless of the answer, after the flood, the Nephilim almost disappeared. Only traces of their existence remain in ancient myths. Anunnaki experiments on other species, the forgotten hybrids. If the Anunnaki were able to create humans and generate hybrids with their own DNA, then what other creatures could they have created? Mythologies from around the world speak of impossible hybrids. Minotaurs and centaurs, creatures half human, half animal. Mermaids and mermen, aquatic beings, possibly the result of experiments in underwater environments. Dragons and griffins, supernatural beings, created to serve as soldiers of the gods. All of these creatures were considered mere myths. But what if they weren't just stories, but the result of forbidden genetic experiments? In Egypt, Greece, South America, and in the temples of Asia, we see sculptures depicting beings that are half human, half animal. Are these just symbols? Or are they reminders of an era when the Anunnaki were perfecting their art of genetics? What happened to the Anunnaki after the destruction of the Nephilim? After the Great Flood, things changed. The gods no longer directly intervened in people's lives, but their influence was still present. Instead of creating genetic experiments, the Anunnaki left their mark through the human elites. The myths say that the kings and pharaohs were descendants of the gods. Perhaps this is not just a metaphor, but a reality. Some bloodlines have preserved the genetic code of the Anunnaki, and these families rule the world even today. But what if the Nephilim did not disappear completely? What if some of them survived, hiding, waiting for the right time to return? Is humanity in a new genetic experiment? Is a new divine intervention being prepared? Ancestral technologies and the secrets of the gods, physical evidence of the Anunnaki presence. An earth full of secrets, traces of the gods hidden in stone and our DNA. Humanity looks into its past and sees only ruins, but what if those ruins are not just the remains of primitive civilizations, but evidence of an era when gods walked among men? What if in our distant past, an advanced civilization erected colossal monuments, left behind inexplicable artifacts, and inscribed secret codes in the Bible and other sacred texts? Throughout the world, we discover colossal megalithic structures that defy the logic of ancient engineering. The pyramids of Egypt, Pumapunku, Göbekli Tepe, places where stones are cut with a precision that requires advanced technology. Who really built them? If the gods left Earth, why did they leave behind these clues to their presence? What's more, there's something that could be the greatest evidence of their intervention, our DNA. Is there a signature left by the creators in the human genetic code? Proof that we are more than we think? This is the mystery we will explore in this chapter. The forbidden technologies of the past, the connection between the Bible, the Apocrypha, and the Anunnaki, and the hidden messages that indicate that the gods may return. Megalithic structures, indestructible evidence of the gods. The pyramids of Egypt, energy and lost knowledge. Since ancient times, the Great Pyramid of Giza has been considered an unexplained mystery. Officially, we are told it was built by the pharaohs, but how did the ancient Egyptians manage to cut and transport millions of stone blocks, some weighing tens of tons, with millimeter precision? Some researchers suggest that the pyramids were not tombs as is commonly believed, but energy generators used by an advanced civilization to manipulate the Earth's electromagnetic fields. In the Bible, Moses receives divine power from Mount Sinai, but what if the mountain was not just a place of prayer, but a center for connecting to this sacred energy? The Egyptians called their pharaohs descendants of the gods, and for some unknown reason, royal families kept their blood pure by marrying siblings. Was this just a cultural practice? Or were they trying to preserve the genetic legacy of the Anunnaki? Göbekli Tepe, the oldest temple of the gods. In Turkey, the ruins of Göbekli Tepe have been discovered and dated to over 12,000 years old, thousands of years before the first known cities. Who built it and why? Apocryphal texts, such as the Gospel of Judas, suggest that forbidden knowledge was transmitted by beings from heaven to certain chosen people. Judas is described as an initiate who received a truth that the other disciples of Jesus could not understand. What if these texts are not just religion, but fragments of a hidden truth? What if the Anunnaki gods had initiates among humans whom they taught how to build such structures? Artifacts that shouldn't exist. The Antikythera mechanism, a prehistoric calculator. In 1901, divers discovered an incredible artifact in an ancient shipwreck, the Antikythera mechanism. A complex device, full of gears, which seems to have been an extremely advanced astronomical calculator. If ancient people did not have advanced knowledge of mechanics, how was it possible for them to create something like this? Especially in an era when, officially, such technologies did not exist? Could this mechanism be a relic left by the gods? A proof of the knowledge that the Anunnaki shared with some of their disciples? The Baghdad Battery, electricity in antiquity? Another fascinating mystery is the Baghdad Battery, discovered in Iraq. This strange artifact perfectly resembles a rudimentary electric battery. If our ancestors used electricity, then why does official history tell us that electricity was only discovered in the 19th century? An interesting detail is that, in many Egyptian representations, the gods hold objects resembling electric lamps in their hands, connected to some kind of cables. Is it possible that the pyramids and temples were powered by a secret energy that we no longer know about today? The Bible and the Apocryphal Gospels, the secrets of the gods hidden in sacred texts. The Bible tells us about divine architects, beings who came from heaven and shared forbidden knowledge with people. In the Gospel of Judas, Jesus reveals to him a hidden truth: the God that people worship is not the true God. Instead, there is a higher, hidden entity that holds the true power. What if this text refers to the conflict between Enki and Enlil? What if the jealous god mentioned in the Bible is Enlil, who tried to keep people in a state of ignorance, and Enki, the serpent of Eden, was the one who provided knowledge? These apocryphal texts could be the key to understanding a shocking truth: modern religion is but a shadow of lost divine knowledge. What are the world elite hiding? If these discoveries are real, why aren't they being promoted? Why are world governments ignoring evidence suggesting an extraterrestrial presence in our past? One theory holds that the world elites know about these truths, but are keeping them hidden in order to maintain control over humanity. If people were to learn that they are the creation of gods or aliens, it would completely change the paradigm of power. But it may not be long. What if the truth comes out? What if the gods return? Portals to another dimension, the gate of the gods, and the secrets hidden underground. A forbidden secret, the portals of the gods discovered in Iraq. Deep in the Iraqi desert, where the Sumerian civilization once flourished, there is a place where legend and reality seem to intertwine in a dangerous mystery. Officially, it is just an arid area full of ancient ruins, but rumors within the U.S. military and independent researchers suggest that something much more important than oil or ancient artifacts has been discovered there: a functioning Stargate. This discovery was allegedly made during the Iraq War, when American troops arrived at the ancient ruins of Eridu, the place where, according to Sumerian tablets, the god Enki would have reigned. Something strange has happened underground. Soldiers and scientists have reportedly found a massive structure buried under the sand, which was initially thought to be an ancient temple. But when they tried to open it, it began to vibrate, emanating a blinding blue light. A portal to Orion? Researchers noticed strange symbols engraved on the walls of the underground chamber. These symbols did not resemble the usual Sumerian writings. Instead, they appeared to be star diagrams. After careful comparisons, it was discovered that the markings pointed to a specific direction, the constellation Orion. What if the ancient myths about the gods of Orion are not just fabrications? What if the Anunnaki came from this constellation and left behind a means of returning? The classified report states that when the research team accidentally activated the structure, an energy field formed in the middle of the room, and the recorded images showed a vortex shape, an energy tunnel leading elsewhere. At that time, the US government completely closed the area and moved the discovery to a secret base. Is this why Iraq was attacked? Not for oil, but to control the Gate of the Gods? Are portals an ancestral technology of the Anunnaki? What if this discovery is not unique? What if there are such stargates all over the world, hidden in the ruins of ancient temples and pyramids? The Gate of the Gods in Peru. In the Peruvian Andes, near Lake Titicaca, there is a place known as the Gate of the Gods. It is a strange portal, carved into a massive rock, with no physical entrance. Local legends say that in ancient times, Inca priests used this gate to travel between worlds. An artifact called the Key of the Gods is said to have activated the portal, opening a path to the heavens. In 1996, a group of explorers discovered that the area around the gate was experiencing abnormal electromagnetic activity. It is said that when a person approaches the center of the door, they feel a strong energy flow and can even have visions. Were these stargates used by the Anunnaki to travel between the stars? Mount Kailash, the portal to the world of the gods? In Tibet, there is a sacred mountain called Kailash, revered by several religions as the abode of the gods. Strangely enough, this mountain has never been climbed. All those who have tried have either died or inexplicably given up on the climb. Sanskrit texts speak of a realm of the immortals hidden within the mountain, where divine beings live beyond human perception. Is Mount Kailash not just a religious symbol, but a portal to another dimension, a place where the Anunnaki retreated when they wanted to be undisturbed by humans? The connection between the Bible and the portals of the gods. The Bible speaks of Jacob's ladder, a vision in which the patriarch Jacob saw angels ascending and descending a ladder that connected heaven and earth. Was this ladder not just a metaphor, but a real device, a kind of energetic gateway through which the gods entered and exited our world? In the Gospel of Judas, Jesus tells Judas that the world is ruled by lesser gods, and those who know the true path can pass beyond. Is this beyond a reference to interdimensional travel, accessible only through certain sacred portals? What secrets does the Vatican hide? There are rumors that the Vatican holds secret documents about these stargates. In the Vatican's underground libraries, hidden from public view, there are maps of sacred portals and ancient manuscripts explaining the technology of the gods. Some reports suggest that in the 1960s, the Vatican discovered a mysterious artifact in the Middle East, an object believed to be the key to activating an interdimensional portal. If this information is real, then the world's elite may hold the key to the secrets of the Anunnaki, and we, the common people, are being kept in the dark. Will the gods return? If the portals are real, then the Anunnaki could return at any time. Could this be why world governments are rushing to explore space? NASA, SpaceX, and other private agencies are investing billions in colonizing Mars. But why the rush? Are they trying to find answers about our origins before the gods return? There is a fascinating theory that Nibiru, the mysterious planet of the Anunnaki, is approaching Earth again. If true, then in the coming decades we could witness the greatest event in human history, the return of the gods. Will we discover the truth? We are on the verge of a knowledge revolution. Discoveries in Iraq, portals in Peru and Tibet, hidden manuscripts in the Vatican, all point to a forbidden truth, a past hidden under layers of disinformation. But the question remains, are we ready to face the truth about who we really are? The return of the gods, what is preparing in the shadows? A dangerous truth, humanity on the brink of the abyss. Our world is at a turning point. Something is happening beyond what we can see. Something that governments and world elites are trying to keep hidden from the public eye. In recent decades, reports of UFOs, advanced technology, and extraterrestrial contact have exploded. The Pentagon has declassified hundreds of documents confirming that unidentified objects are flying above Earth, defying the laws of physics. Astronauts and former NASA officials claim to have had encounters with unknown beings. But the question is not whether they are there. The real question is, are they preparing to return? If the Anunnaki are our true creators, if humanity is the result of sophisticated genetic engineering, then we are their experiment. And every experiment has an end. But what is its purpose? Will they use us as slaves again, destroy us, or free us from our own chains? Signs of an imminent return are everywhere. Only one question remains: will humanity be ready? Prophecies of humanity, coded messages about the return of the gods. In many sacred texts and ancient myths, there are references to a day when the gods will return. This theme appears in the Bible, in Sumerian myths, in Mayan prophecies, and even in the book of Revelation. 1. The Bible and the return of the sons of God. In the Bible, the book of Daniel speaks of an era when those of old shall return and reign over men again. At first glance, this verse seems symbolic. But what if it isn't? In Genesis, the sons of God, Anunnaki, came to earth and created a hybrid race, the Nephilim. After the flood, they were destroyed, but ancient texts suggest that some of them survived and will one day return. In the Revelation of John, there is talk of the coming of a new era, when the chosen ones will be raised to heaven, and the rest of humanity will be judged. What if this is not a reference to a mystical end, but a warning about the return of the creator gods? 2. The Sumerians and the return of Nibiru. Sumerian texts describe a cycle in which the planet Nibiru returns to the vicinity of Earth every 3,600 years. If this cycle is real, it means that we are very close to a new contact. What does this mean? If the Anunnaki return, will they come as masters or as liberators? Some researchers claim that climate change, increased seismic activity, and electromagnetic changes to Earth are signs of Nibiru's approach. If this massive planet really exists and is approaching, then the impact on our civilization could be devastating. What do world governments know? Secret projects of the elites. 1. The underground base in Antarctica. What's hiding there? Antarctica is one of the most mysterious places on Earth. Despite the extreme temperatures, several governments have built underground bases there. Rumor has it that in 1947, during Operation High Jump, Admiral Richard Byrd discovered a civilization hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica. According to declassified documents, he and his team came into contact with highly advanced beings who warned them that humanity should prepare for a major event. What if these underground bases actually hide the remains of an ancient civilization, perhaps even structures built by the Anunnaki? 2. CERN and the particle accelerator, an interdimensional gateway. The CERN organization, which operates the largest particle accelerator in the world, is shrouded in mystery. Many researchers suggest that the true purpose of CERN is not just the study of quantum physics, but the opening of an interdimensional portal. Is there an attempt to communicate with entities from other worlds? Are scientists working to reactivate an ancestral technology that could call back the Anunnaki? Elites, Illuminati, and the plan to control humanity. If the gods return, the world elites seem to be already prepared. The great powers are building underground bunkers, developing advanced technologies, and trying to completely control the population. If the truth about the origin of humanity and the return of the gods were to come to light, the current system of power would collapse. Religions, politics, economics, everything would be rewritten. What happens when the masses find out that they are just an experiment by entities from the stars? The governments of the world have two options. Hide the truth and prepare humanity for a gradual acceptance of the extraterrestrial reality. Control the population through fear so that when the gods return, there is no chaos. Is it possible that everything we see today, global crises, pandemics, geopolitical conflicts, is part of a distraction plan so that humanity is not prepared for the decisive moment? A final question: what next? If the Anunnaki return, will they come as savior gods or as masters? Will they offer us the forbidden knowledge they have hidden from us for so many millennia? Or will they try to rebuild their old empire, turning humanity back into slaves? The evidence is everywhere. Pyramids, interdimensional portals, unexplained artifacts, government reports, the Bible, and ancient texts. They all point to the same thing: they never left. Will we discover the truth before the gods descend on Earth again? Or will we only find out when we find ourselves under their rule again? One thing is certain: history repeats itself. And the decisive moment is closer than we think. Final, but not the end. This is just the beginning. Something is coming. We feel it in the events in the world, and the unexplained changes, and the mysteries that are beginning to surface. Prepare yourself. A change is coming that will rewrite everything you thought you knew about the world. Will humanity be able to know its creators without collapse into chaos? Or will we become their slaves again? The truth is out there. Are you ready to find it?